Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlisify here, and this is how to use Hydreigon. Oh yeah, those pseudo legendary stats. Lay it on me. We got a really powerful looking Pokemon right here that's pretty much going to be excellent at everything. Now, 105 on the attack is good, but we're going to ignore it for the most part because why would we use that? We have 125 on the special attack, so just more damage overall. We can run a physical Pokemon that does physical things if special tanks are a problem against us. On that, we have 98 on the speed. So, interesting thing about these Pokemon is that they don't have outrageous amounts of speed for the most part. So 98 on speed is going to be good, but we're still going to be outsped by 100 base speed, 110 base speed, you know, some pretty crazy sweeper Pokemon, but to a degree it doesn't really matter because our hit points and defenses are ridiculous. 92 on the hit points, 90s on the defenses, which means if something outspeeds us, they're not going to be able to do enough to knock us out in a lot of situations. Like, you have to be bombarding this Pokemon with super effective hits to make sure Hydreigon goes down because it just has that natural tankiness to it. And then you can just go and turn around with a huge Draco Meteor or some kind of very powerful attack and just knock your opponent out. So Hydreigon's going to be pretty covered. Look at its typing. Very interesting typing, Dark Dragon. So it's actually going to have tons and tons of weaknesses, and Fairy. Don't get me started about Fairy, it's just going to immediately end your life right there. But we still have weakness to Fighting, Bug, Ice, Dragon, and Fairy. So really nothing's covering for itself. That Fighting and Bug being the weaknesses of Dark, you know, Dragon doesn't cover for that, but we do get resistances. Ghost, Fire, Water, Grass, Electric, and Dark. And then 2 immunities because we have the Levitate ability, so we are going to get that ground immunity. But a lot of weaknesses, we are just going to try to play it as a sweeper or try to stay on that neutral side of hits. Hopping into Pokemon Showdown, Hydreigon's going to be pretty much really good at one thing, and that's going to be Choice Scarf. So if we're running the Choice Scarf, it's going to synergize well with everything we have. High amounts of natural special attack, and good amounts of speed, but not insane amount of speed. If we're throwing the Choice Scarf onto a base 98 speed Pokemon, we don't need to fully invest into it. We can go Modest Nature, get the most amount of damage, and we don't even need to fully invest into speed. Depending on which speed tier you're going after, you can kind of drop the stats around a bit and then put the rest into hit points. And by doing that, we're going to make it harder for us to knock out, which could be really nice. That we outspeed, we don't KO them, they do damage, they don't KO us, and then we get a KO back, and now we're still Scarf. So we outspeed the next Pokemon coming in, and it's going to be good to go. Now, choice locking can be a problem. You know, if they switch, might be bad for us, but then we can just switch as well. So the advantages are eventually going to level themselves out, but the idea is we're just going to be a stronger Pokemon than them, doing more damage than them, and it's going to be just fine. Dark Pulse's stab, solid. Draco Meteor. Like, Choice Scarf Draco Meteor is just awesome. You absolutely obliterate the Pokemon that's in front of you, and then you switch out. Now this is looking for synergy right here, that you want a tanky Pokemon that can be switched in a lot of situations, and that's really it. That you use Draco Meteor to switch out, you wait until it's time to bring Hydreigon back in. Probably as a revenge Pokemon, you line up your coverage, and you're good to go. You get Flamethrower, you get Earth Power, you get Dark Pulse. There's something for everything with Hydreigon, and you're just going to have a lot of damage to unleash into your opponent. Also, we can just go with all these other moves. Now, this isn't a moveset. These are just the other options that you have for both singles and doubles. Hydreigon plays pretty much same in singles or doubles. That what you want to do is you want to come in, get the right matchups, and get the speed, and you're good to go. Very powerful Pokemon in double battles, though, because it's this threat. You have to find a way to outspeed it, which is difficult, and it's going to be just lobbing damage from the side, and the other Pokemon next to it could be supporting it massively, or also be a damage threat. So it does create high-pressure scenarios being in a double battle, and it just has excellent coverage. Also, Heat Wave hits both opponents if you want to be running that, or if you want a little bit more damage in a single battle, you can do that. I'm not a big fan of U-Turn, however. Even though it is used on Scarf Pokemon, I don't see Hydreigon being used as a lead that often, and also you're just sacrificing coverage for lesser physical damage and low base power. It's not really going to accomplish much unless you're going for like some really ridiculous switching plays or some kind of prediction like that. But if you're making those guesses, then you might be in a suboptimal kind of range. So I don't think it's going to be that great to have Hydreigon with U-Turn because you just get so much great coverage. Also, Flash Cannon. Now, you don't want to be in against Fairy types as a Hydreigon. Also, Fairy types have more special defense on average, so even Flash Cannon isn't going to be very great at KOing Fairies, but it is something to carry. That if you really don't mind having like Earth Power or something, you can take that off, you put in the Flash Cannon, and this is just going to give you coverage in those bad scenarios. You know, they've already taken a little bit of damage, you need to get the damage, maybe they just don't respect you. If they have a Sylveon, they're thinking, oh, Hydreigon's definitely switching out, I'm going to go and I'm going to set up a Calm Mind, and then you can maybe two-shot them with the Flash Cannon. I haven't done the damage calculation on it, but there's probably something like if you're running Life Orb or Specs, you can still run Choice Specs Hydreigon as well. Choice Specs Hydreigon is pretty much going to be this, but the other way around. You run a timid nature, then you max out the speed and you go with a modest, but now you're outspeeding a lot of Pokemon still. Now you're still outspeeding a lot of Pokemon. It's going to be more wall breaking, but you do have absurd amounts of special attack, and you can even slap on something like a Focus Sash onto Hydreigon or even Life Orb. There's a lot of item and damage and crazy possibilities with Hydreigon, but it's pretty much just going to focus around being a sweeper. Hydreigon doesn't want to do anything sneaky. It doesn't want to do anything cheeky. It just wants to come in and it wants to kind of follow the general rules of a sweeper. If you're running Scarf, go with an offensive nature. If you're running Specs, go with a speedy nature. If you're running Life Orb, that's going to be for those coverage situations, potentially giving up KOs over the choice, but it does let you change out your moves, but you still want to run a speedy nature on top of that. You also get Focus Blast, Obliterate, Dark type, and Normal type Pokemon. The low accuracy is bad, but you will see a Hydreigon run this from time to time. Sometimes to counter out other Hydreigon, like on a Life Orb set, use Focus Blast on Hydreigon, that way you don't get forced into using your Draco Meteor, transition into Draco Meteor, have things work out like that. And that's going to be basic Hydreigon stuff. Life Orb with Levitate, same things right here. And other than that, Hydreigon does get access to some other moves. Roost, Tailwind, Taunt. If you want it to have supportive aspects, it can do that. Like Tailwind with a Focus Sash is very powerful because now you're outspeeding, you're out-damaging your opponents, get a lot of support down as well. Roost can work on a Life Orb set. You're taking a little bit of recoil damage. If you're going up against Pokemon that can't outrageously just blow you up, that's where you're going to just have the Roost. So you can heal up more damage than you're receiving in some situations and still have a lot of damage backing you up. And then Taunt. Taunt works for the wall breaking scenarios. So Life Orb again, potentially, that you can run the Taunt as well. Now, it's going to be a tough call because using both of these on the same moveset, pretty good that you can shut down a tanky Pokemon from setting up and then you can roll damage onto them, but then that means you might want to run the Dragon Breath and then some kind of extra coverage move. So Dragon Breath into your Dark Pulse for stab, and that's going to be still high amounts of damage, really good amounts of sustain, and tank busting opportunities. Now with this, we might not want to go for that 98 base speed. We might just try to outspeed 90 base speed Pokemon. Alright, so we have a 90 base speed Pokemon here. The Pokemon itself doesn't matter. We're just here for the numbers. 306 means that we're going to be able to use this, hit the 308 mark. Oddly enough, it goes from 306 to 308. So we just invest in this, now we're going to outspeed those Pokemon. However, if we do bring up a base 100 speed Pokemon, we're going to see that if it's neutral, that's going to be 299. So you can also just aim for that. You can try to outspeed 209 with the 300, and if we're playing level 50, we do need to care about that. So if we drop down the level, we're going to see that that's 156, and then we're going to see that this is going to be 156, which means might need to put that extra point in there, and then we get the tankiness. So we're going to be slightly more tanky, still have coverage, still have Life Orb damage, and just be a pretty crazy Pokemon overall for the tank busting aspects. And that just shows the evolution of strategy for this Pokemon. There's a lot of different things you can do, a lot of basic fundamentals to follow as well, but overall just high amounts of coverage, ridiculous amounts of damage, potentially crazy speed, choice mastery. That's pretty much what Hydreigon is all about. So if you guys enjoyed this video, that's how you use Hydreigon, and I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you for watching.